Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So this video is called A Shift in Perspective, and I'm just going to speak completely from the heart. So I have been feeling really discouraged the past couple of days. I've been getting quite a bit of hate on YouTube, if I'm being honest, or the way I'm perceiving it is hate, or hate comments, I should say. And I've had to hide some people's users essentially from my channel, and I'm going to explain why. So the essence of the messages that I've been getting are, using the word coach in quotation marks, talking about how I'm not being honest, talking about how I'm spreading the message everyone heals when I'm not doing quote real research. There's no way that I'm possibly healed because of the way I speak. And I just want to address this as it relates to you guys, because here's the thing. I've been in this community for 6 years this month. I went into my first withdrawal from my first long-term drug, citalopram, in April of 2018. I've had 2 separate withdrawals. I reinstated at 2.5 years off. I then went on many other antidepressants, antipsychotics, benzos that I took for 3 months consecutively, anticonvulsants, beta blockers, you name it, I tried it. And my journey was incredibly difficult and incredibly long. And this is one of the things that I don't like about this experience. I mean, there's many things, but it's so subjective for the most part, unless you have tardive dyskinesia, dystonia, active outer akathisia. There's hundreds, dozens of symptoms that don't have any outward cues. You can't just look at someone and say, oh yeah, this person is experiencing this. So much of what we experience is subjective. So I can't comment on what someone else is experiencing for the most part, and they can't comment on what I experienced for the most part. And most of the people that I talk to present very well. I would say there's only a few people that have been very outwardly displaying physical symptoms or emotional symptoms that were so extreme that their reactions were visible. And 95% of people don't show much of anything, but I know the distress they're feeling on the inside, at least if it's anything close to what I experienced. So I want to put things in perspective, because I'm well aware of the research that's been done. I'm well aware of what Ashton said. I'm well aware. People have sent me studies all throughout the years from different psychiatrists, medical research, whatever, into the harm of benzodiazepines, antidepressants. I'm fully aware of that. And so for someone to say, do some real research, I'm aware that there are articles that talk about how these conditions from these drugs can be, it starts with a P and it rhymes with schmerminant. And I know that this freaks a lot of people out. And the purpose of my channel is not to sit on here and say, well, are you aware of the studies that show that this can happen? Of course I'm aware that there's studies out there that show that. But just like any chronic condition, you can go down every rabbit hole of how something might be schmerminant, I'm just going to say. I don't even want to say the word because it instills so much fear in people. And that's not the purpose of this channel. If you want to look at the statistics, if you want to look at all the different research, you can do that on your own. And pretty much everybody that I talk to in coaching sessions is aware of those studies, myself included. And so that's grossly inaccurate to say that I've never done any real research. I'm aware that that's out there, but I choose not to focus on that because I always put things back to diabetes. I have type 1 autoimmune diabetes. There is absolutely no cure. There is basically 0% of people that have ever had it turn around. And the people where, if you search online, that have had a quote cure, they've either had a pancreas transplant, a stem cell transplant, or they claim they had spontaneous remission. And from the research that I've done, they didn't even have true type 1 diabetes. They have what's called type 1.5. It's different. It's not a true autoimmune diabetes from my understanding. Their pancreas hasn't completely shut down and stopped working. So I've been a diabetic for 26 years, and there's no cure. There's no at present time real hope for a cure. They've been saying, oh, we're really close to a cure since 1998 when I got diagnosed, and there's not really been a breakthrough since then, other than, you know, there's stem cells. And I know people personally who've had pancreas transplants, and that comes with its own whole other set of problems. So there's no cure. There's 0% of people that have been cured. And so I could focus on that, or I could say, okay, everything shows that type 1 diabetes is permanent. Yes, it's a manageable condition, but it's permanent. And so I already live with something that is well known to be permanent. There's been under 1% of people that have turned it around. And the people who have turned it around have had whole organ transplants. Okay, so that's the background that I come from. But the associated risks with especially type 1 diabetes, autoimmune diabetes, which is less than 5% of diabetics have type 1, which is what I have. The risks are very, very high for it's a leading cause of blindness. It's a leading cause of amputation, kidney failure. Diabetes is a very serious disease. I have a cousin who is totally blind from the disease. She has glass eyes. She can't see even light anymore, obviously. And that's a very real threat of having diabetes, is losing your vision, losing a foot, losing your toes, having kidney failure and being on dialysis 3 times a week. There were times when in my journey through diabetes, when I was experiencing burnout during year 18, where I got obsessed, and I was in the forums, I was in the online diabetes communities. What are the chances I'm going to go blind? How can I prevent it? How can I reverse it? And it became a total obsession. And I was just like, this is kind of a waste of time for me, because even though the chances are much higher than in the general population that I will go blind, there's no guarantee that I'm going to go blind. But there's pretty much a 99.9% chance that it's never going to be reversed, my diabetes, my condition. And I had a doctor say to me once in the hospital that type 1 diabetes is the most relentless disease. Most people don't really know what goes into blood sugar management when you have type 1 as opposed to type 2. And that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of it is that I'm not choosing to focus on all of the things that can go wrong, which are a very real chance when you have diabetes. And like I said, the chances of it reversing are pretty much nothing. And so even though I'm well aware of the studies that have went into psychiatric drug harm and what can potentially be going on in the brain and how long that can last, I choose not to focus on that, because the overwhelming majority of people recover from this. And so why would I choose to spread a message or to focus on the studies that show that there could be a chance that this is schmerminant? And they don't even know what that potentially even means as far as I'm aware of. There are not structural changes they can detect. They talk about functional changes in the brain. And like I said, the overwhelming majority of people recover. So that is the message that I'm spreading. And the most difficult part of this journey is the acute phase, the tapering phase. I mean, protracted comes with another set, like its own set of problems, but the most difficult from what I've seen and the thousands of people I've talked to is the acute phase. And the only things that I'm aware of, again, I talk to people back to back to back to back to back, that gets them through the acute phase, are hope and support. I mean, if you have active akathisia, there are treatments that you can try, and I talk to people about those. I've tried them myself. And I just present, the possibilities of trying that, or just letting it be and letting time and maybe other nervous system regulation exercises. Maybe, we kind of explore all of those different things. And I feel like, again, okay, so there was a study by Harvard Health that talks about how stress can cause permanent changes to the brain, structural changes. And so I flip things on its side all the time when I talk to people in this community, because I could argue, people will say, well, what if this is schmerminant? And I'm like, well, there's a Harvard study that shows that stress can cause schmerminant issues or changes in the brain. It can rewire the brain negatively. So no matter which way you look at it, like, yes, the drugs could do a certain level of harm, but stress can also do a certain level of harm. So why would I choose to focus on spreading the fear messages? And like, that is not the point of my channel. And so I just am so frustrated. And I understand, like, I'm putting my story out on the internet, and I understand that people are really hurting in this community. And I'm not trying to say that they aren't, but I just get so frustrated when, people are making comments like, I'm just in this for the money. I mean, I have another business that I could drop coaching for in a second and go do, and I could build that. It's a scalable business, but I wanted to come back and spread the hope message in this community, especially for people who have been struggling long term, and especially for people, who have really bad mental symptoms, because that was something that nearly completely destroyed me. And so I just want to shift the perspective, because again, this is why I talk so often in my videos about staying out of the groups, because I get that that's some people's only source of support. I get that. And I understand the purpose of the groups. They help you understand what's going on with you if you have no idea about withdrawal syndromes, like I didn't. And they can be a great source of support. If you're needing tapering information, there's a wealth of information on those forums. If you're looking to connect with others who are going through this journey, it's a great place to connect with people. But it's also a huge fear space. I mean, if you think about it, the small population in the general population that are harmed by these drugs, and then you take the people in active suffering who are likely in an acute phase, who are experiencing the most severe reactions to these drugs. That's the group of people you're going to find in the groups. And is it really, I mean, of course, if you're finding information you need on there, great. But if you're just commenting on the threads and you're obsessing about your symptoms, and you're trying to find other people who have the symptoms, and you're just obsessed with finding out what happened to them and where they ended up and did they go back on drugs. I mean, it's good to a point, but it can become very toxic. Again, stress can also change the brain permanently, according to Harvard Health. So why continue to expose yourself to those groups if you're just going down the rabbit holes? That's my perspective on that. And someone who commented, like, I add no value in these videos, and I'm like, okay, well then why are you on them? Like, I just encourage you, if you don't find any value in my videos and you would rather just seek support from the forums, then go to the forums. Don't be on my channel. But also, don't come on commenting all of these things when you know nothing personally about me, and you're just scaring the other people on my channel. And most people are aware of what could possibly happen, and that's not the issue. I'm not denying that those studies are out there. I'm not denying anything, and I'm very well aware of them, but I just choose not to focus on them because, again, the overwhelming majority of people recover. Unlike diabetes, which has a less than 1% chance of turning around and a huge chance of leading to complications that severely alter someone's life. But why would I focus on that? It just doesn't make any sense. So again, if you find my videos totally without value, then please just leave my channel, or I just will block you if you continue to say the same thing over and over and over. And the person who keeps commenting, well, I talk fast, so I'm obviously not healed. I mean, it's just absurd. Talking fast, the last time I looked at any of the FDA labels, is not a symptom of an adverse reaction, and it's not a symptom of withdrawal that I can see. People, yes, it can be associated with anxiety, but it can also be just the way a person is. I've been a fast talker my entire life. Way before I ever went on drugs, I won a talking contest where I talked nonstop continuously for close to an hour with no one saying anything back to me, just ramble, 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 ramble. My mom and grandparents used to joke that I could talk so fast and spell so fast. It's just how I am. I'm just a go-getter. I'm also a very busy person. So I don't even know why I'm justifying myself. I'm just frustrated, I guess. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I don't add value. But then I'm like, I know that I do, because I get messages all the time. I just got an amazing, incredible email from someone saying that I had a gift in this space, and he felt an incredible amount of comfort for the entire rest of the day when he was struggling really, really bad when I talked to him. So thank you for that message. It it keeps me going, I guess, in this space, because it's a very difficult job, as I've mentioned. But again, I want to just shift the perspective, and I'm trying to spread hope, because that's what most people need. And I'm seeing people recover, I'm seeing my clients recover, and I am not trying to say in a black and white way that if you end up protracted that you're doing something wrong. I'm not saying that. I did mention in a video that there are times when I have seen firsthand what someone posts on a thread and then what they say to me in a one-on-one conversation does not line up at all. And the message that they're putting on the boards is that they're 5, 6, 7 years off and not having any windows. But then the conversation they're having with me, they're very obviously doing things that are interfering with their recovery. And that's just the truth. I'm not saying that that's the case with everybody. And I'm not saying that the person is to blame if they're in a protracted state. I was in a protracted state, and I didn't have all of the information that I wished I would have had early on about how to best get through the recovery of this. And I think that contributed to the length of time. I also interfered, in my opinion, with going back on the drugs. It wasn't the right decision for me. Some people go back on and stabilize. I have friends that that's happened to. Everybody's journey is different. And I'm here I have a unique perspective in that I've been in this space for so long, and I have one-on-one conversations with people, which is very different than just reading their thread on the forums. And I notice patterns with people, and I notice things that happen with the order that people took drugs in, what their condition was like, or their state of being or health was like before they took the drugs, how long they took them. I mean, the usual things that people talk about, their dose. I find that even more important is how many times have they stopped and started the drugs? How many times have they made changes? That seems to make a lot of difference in people's recovery, and not whether they'll recover, but just in their timeline and their level of symptoms. There's all different things. So I have that unique perspective, and that's what I share with people. I'm not just, yes, I was very, very, very involved in the forums, but talking to people like this is very, very, very different and offers a very unique perspective. And I'm not here trying to gouge people. I'm not here trying to charge exorbitant amounts of money. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to make a living doing this. And I also am factoring in the level of it's very emotionally taxing. And I say at the beginning of every one of my videos, I offer my coaching at much lower rates than places online, other people online or other places online. And the reasoning for that is because I was on disability because of these drugs. I know how little you get from disability. I know how hard it is to live on that. So that's what I factored in. The fact that I need to make a living, and that it's a very emotionally taxing and draining job. And also that I know a lot of people are on disability. And so I tried to factor both of those things in when I made my rates. I don't know why I'm justifying myself again. I guess I'm just trying to explain my perspective. And I just appreciate everybody that I talk to, and all of the strides that people have made, and the amazing connections that I've made over the years, both outside of coaching and within it. And I want to say too, that if you're considering having a conversation with me, whether it's just a free consultation and nothing else, which is fine. I mean, there's no obligation. I'm not like, well, you had a free consultation, now you're locked into a year's worth of paid calls. I have lots of people who have just done free consultations and I've never seen them again. And it's completely fine. Sometimes, I've explained to other Canadians the process of getting on disability. I also have connected people with each other who are like, I don't want to be in the forums. Can you connect me with a healing buddy? I've done that. I've, given people perspective on different tapering advice. I don't give direct medical advice, but I lay out the options and what I've seen work, maybe not work. For different people, how to manage mental symptoms, very tangible things that I've seen. If people are exploring brain retraining programs, I've purchased them. I know firsthand what they entail. So if people are like, should I buy it? What's it about? I'm like, here it is. The tinnitus course. Here's what it is. I've read the book 3-4 times now. I've taken the course. Here's what it is. I give you that perspective, that firsthand insight if you're considering purchasing something like that. I have not created a course, but I have experience. People who come to me with multiple chemical sensitivities, mast cell activation syndrome, POTS, ME, all of those different things that can come from these drugs. I've taken courses on that or studied them in depth. And so I can give my feedback as it relates to these drugs, my personal opinion as it relates to these drugs, and also all of the details that go into some of the courses that people can take that deal with these types of MCS and severe things. And so I give my perspective on both the drugs interference in that and also what the courses are about, again, so people can make informed decisions if they're deciding on whether or not they should spend $600 on a course. Not one that I've created, but what others people have created as it relates to those particular symptoms. So that's what I do as a coach. I'm not just here repeating on repeat, you're going to heal, you're going to heal, you're going to heal. Sometimes, people just need hope. They need me to send them success stories. Again, if they're not in the forums, I do that. I share more about my story. I'm not just sitting here and regurgitating like, you're going to heal like a parrot, like people have accused me of doing. That's not what I do at all. So anyway, I guess this was a rant / shifting in perspective / I guess laying out in more detail what I do as a coach, the whole, the steps that I took to what I feel contributed to my own healing, and things that I tried every supplement. I tried all different kinds of very expensive paid tests, and here were the results and how it potentially related back to the drug harm. So anyway, I feel like I'm just justifying myself when it's not really necessary, but I just needed to get that off my chest. So let me know how you guys are doing. And please, if you don't find value in these videos, rather than just, getting into arguments and writing these lengthy comments that are unnecessary, just leave my channel. That's all I have to say. And that's all I ask. So anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.